Instead, we're going to pick an area where we're going to set up like stands, and we'll bring about 4 to 6 guys, senior guys, and you'll all stand right there, and the guys come up right here. And so you can move, like if you're talking adults. All
right, we are live.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, we'll have like so they can put their little recorders. Everybody's behind them, and then we'll move to. You get to show them. Okay, cool. Here's here on curves. Whatever. So we'll have a list of guys to say this in order to be ready to tell us what they want.
I'm gonna head on out there.
Yeah.
I'll just talk about myself for 10 minutes. How are we doing, Ken's 5 Facebook viewers? This is Nate Ryan on the ground here in Oxnard, California for Dallas Cowboys training camp. As you can see behind me here, cool breeze, sun shining, the California coast. Not quite as dry and humid as San Antonio, but feeling pretty good out here. No practice today. Practice begins tomorrow for the players. They are here. They're staying just at the hotel about a block away, but the first practice will be happening tomorrow. The players are going to be without pads for the rest of the week before they put the pads on next Monday, so that's when things will really start to get physical. Right now, though, earlier this morning, a couple players were out here doing some mobility drills. We, members of the media, were over here off to my left for the annual State of the Cowboys press conference. We heard from team owners Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, as well as head coach Mike McCarthy, entering a pivotal 3rd season as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. How about this for a stat? The Cowboys have not had back-to-back seasons of playoff berths in 15 years. They haven't won a divisional playoff game since 1995, so no doubt a critical season and a critical camp waiting ahead, and us at Ken's 5 are here to bring it to you. I'm going to go ahead and take some of your viewer questions here. If you guys have any, I've got 62 watching right now, and I can see the questions. Fire away with anything you've got from Cowboys Camp, and I'll do my best to answer it. I feel like Bill Taylor back in the weather lab taking the questions before our weekly 10 p.m. studio show. I know Jeremy Baker was in for him last night. But as you can see, I mean, I've got no complaints about field anchoring all week long here from Oxnard, California. My photojournalist Jason Eggleston and I are going to be here all week. Got in yesterday morning, and we're going to be heading back next Monday. So we're here all week. We'll be sitting down with Jerry Jones this coming weekend for a one-on-one interview. We saw Zach Martin and J-Ron Kearse of the Dallas Cowboys. Martin, the all-pro offensive lineman. Kearse heading into a big second season as the team's starting safety. We heard from them yesterday. We'll hear from Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, the rest of the gang coming up all week, the rest of it here. I want to see some comments or questions. What do we got? How's McCarthy looking physically? McCarthy looks pretty good, actually. He looked like he's well-rested coming in. I actually know Mike McCarthy spent this previous offseason up on Lake Michigan, up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He still keeps a home in the area after coaching the Packers for all those years, separating himself away from all the rumors. I mean, obviously, how could you not? You're a head coach, and you see every single day in the local media they're printing articles, printing headlines about how his seat is hot. So he's getting away from that, recharging, refocusing. Technically, though, for McCarthy, it's his 3rd camp as member of the Cowboys, but let's go ahead and call it his 2nd, because that first season when he first took the job, he was in that COVID pandemic season, so he didn't really get a chance to really be around his players a whole lot, and that's something that Jerry Jones talked a lot about in his press conference as far as why he brought McCarthy back for a 3rd season, because that upward trajectory, I guess you see in that record, 12-5 a season ago. This was a team that won the NFC East, albeit the NFC East looks a little bit like Northside San Antonio School District here with the talent some of these teams had. But a playoff berth is a playoff berth. However, still looking for that first divisional playoff victory since 1995. Obviously, Aikman and the boys won a Super Bowl that season. So is the Zeke situation real? Ernie Contreras. Is the Zeke situation as far as his health? I mean, he's here. He was with the team, coming in to practice yesterday. If anything, though, his touches maybe, I mean, they were going down a little bit towards the end of the last season. That was because of the emergence of Tony Pollard, the rookie, the kid they took out of Memphis about 3-4 years ago. This is a big year for Tony Pollard. He's entering a contract season. Stephen Jones actually talked. I got a chance to ask him a question on Tony Pollard, whether or not his workload will increase, because obviously if his numbers and his stats starts to increase, that means his paycheck is going to start to increase heading into next season. Would it be plausible to have two highly paid running backs on the same roster if Tony Pollard can go out there and have another highly productive season? Especially now, I would expect to see Pollard lining up more on the outside as well too, because wide receiver is going to be a very hot topic this training camp, because there's just 3 wide receivers on this current roster in training camp who have caught passes from Dak Prescott. You've got guys like Michael Gallup, who's coming off an injury himself, CeeDee Lamb, obviously, probably the unquestioned number 1, and then Noah Brown, who's been a rotational guy for the last couple of years. But as far as lining up Tony Pollard, he's kind of a Swiss Army knife out there. We saw him take a couple kickoffs to the house last season, so expect Pollard to line up on the field next to Ezekiel Elliott in the backfields, maybe sometimes spreading him out wide, maybe using him in a utility role of sorts. But that's going to be another question, Ernie, that we're talking about here at Cowboys Camp. This latest question is going to be one that Michael Manis, that is a tough one there. How do you pronounce Osa Odigizua? Could use a pronunciation on that. Yeah, that is one that I will even have to do some homework on that. I'll have to check the media guide for the name pronunciation on that. But no, we'll be bringing you live coverage all night long tonight, 6 and 10 p.m. That's Central Time back in San Antonio, because we're 2 hours behind you guys, obviously, with the Pacific time zone. I don't know if you guys saw our live shot last night on Ken's 5 at 10, but we were over there in the Ventura Beach Harbor, over here just by the Pacific Ocean, and we had just a herd of about 15 to 20 sea lions that was interrupting, kind of bombing the back of our live shot. You could hear them barking over our mic and audio levels as I'm trying to talk about, player development and position battles. It was a nice change of pace for all the viewers in San Antonio. You probably don't get a whole lot of sea lions, but so you see light breeze. We're not going to see anybody on this field here today because we just had our State of the Cowboys press conference, as we talked about. Jason Eggleston and I here at field level in Oxnard, California. Jerry Jones says he loves having training camp out here because it really expands that bandwidth with the Cowboys fans, gives players a chance to, we heard Zach Martin talk about it yesterday, players a chance to get away from distractions in the Dallas area, whether that's, having a nucleus of people that, I don't know what the nightlife scene compared to from Dallas or Los Angeles, but Zach Martin talked about really clearing the head out here on the California coast. It really does. It's pretty serene. It's got like a very much a retreat kind of feel out here for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's check in on some of our other questions. The thought of him being released or traded for Zeke to be gone, I don't like it. Yeah, I mean, literally, what it comes down to with having 2 running backs in the backfield, obviously Ezekiel Elliott's playing on a pretty hefty contract. The contract talks this week are all going to be centered on Tony Pollard because he's entering that contract season. And the players, the coaches, Jerry Jones, they're all well aware of it, that the more that Tony Pollard produces in a kind of featured, second fiddle role, the higher his price tag goes up next offseason for a team that's looking for help at the running back position. To bring him in is probably the number 1. So the Cowboys are going to have to hope maybe utilize him in some other ways. We've seen teams in the last couple of years, especially running backs, start to line up outside, out wide. A couple of years ago, you had Le'Veon Bell, who it didn't work out so very well for him, but he wanted to be paid as a wide receiver because of his production out of the backfield catching the football. Obviously, it didn't work for him, but more and more teams are starting to gravitate towards that all-purpose position, sort of that Swiss Army knife I talked about. And Tony Pollard certainly bringing that to the table. We've got 33 people, 29. That number's dropping of people watching us here on the Facebook Live. How about it here? Cowboys Camp in Oxnard, California. I forgot to put on sunscreen today, which is going to really hurt me here coming in around like 7 p.m. Saw the beach yesterday, very pretty out here at Cowboys training camp. Again, first day of practice, going to be tomorrow without pads the rest of the week, and we'll hear from plenty more people on Ken's 5 at 6 and 10 all week long. 26, the numbers are dwindling here on the Facebook Live. Now we're up over 10 minutes. Here we go, Michael Manis throwing in a lot of questions here. with questions surrounding the third and fourth wide receiver spots, do you think Kellen Moore will like to utilize some run-heavy play-action sets with double tight ends featuring both Dalton Schultz and rookie Jake Ferguson? Michael Manis with a great question. Is this one of the other media members here punking me out on his burner account? That is a great question. Speaking of contract years, Dalton Schultz is entering a contract season. Jake Ferguson, the sure-handed tight end they brought in out of Wisconsin. I would expect to see a lot more run-heavy jumbo sets, sort of try to draw those safeties in on the earlier downs. But another problem is that offensive line. I mean, they took, not necessarily problem, but question mark is that offensive line. They took the rookie out of Tulsa in the first round, Tyler Smith, and they saw La'el Collins walk to the Cincinnati Bengals. So in order to be able to run the football, you got to get a good push up front, which is why Mike McCarthy was very adamant in saying, hey, look, these rookies, these young guys, they're going to be prominently featured, and they're going to be making an impact here in the first 4 or 5 games of the season. I mean, last year we saw it with the rookie first rounder, Micah Parsons, who turned into an all-pro linebacker in his rookie season. Now he's going to be one of the guys counted upon by these younger guys in year number 2. But no, that is a good question as far as seeing how that offense shakes out. Another thing that really stuck out to me in this press conference, I'll talk about this in depth here coming up tonight, was Jerry Jones kind of took subtle shots at his departing veterans, the guys who were commanding a lot of money and signed elsewhere. Amari Cooper, who was traded to the Cleveland Browns, Randy Gregory, who turned down the Cowboys' offer to sign with the Denver Broncos, and Collins, as I mentioned, who went to the Cincinnati Bengals. Jerry Jones, he said he prioritized availability over ability. And he literally called out, he said, we had 3 of our top 10 highest paid players last season that we let walk, and that we took into account that the money that we had to weigh, the money that we were going to spend on bringing these guys back that they were commanding, how could we, juxtapose that against using that money to help our team elsewhere? And he said, he didn't say their names, but he said those 3 of those top 10 guys. Jerry Jones just said he didn't think they were worth the money that they were commanding, which is to hear that from the guy who's signing the paychecks is kind of an interesting phenomenon. But 39. Oh, we're going up in the viewers here. Yeah, the Cowboys depth at right guard, scale of 1 to 10. How would we rate it? Well, I mean, you've got guys like Connor Williams, who's in the mix. It's going to be a plug and play type scenario for the Cowboys on the offensive line here this season. You've got San Antonio native Terrence Steele on the offensive line here as well. He was mentioned by name in that press conference as a guy who could really fill some more voids on the he's entrenched firmly as the starting as one of the starting offensive linemen. But this kid, I wouldn't be surprised to see the first round pick Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. I'm calling him a week 1 starter with the immediate need that they have there, because clearly the Cowboys are not afraid to play first round picks. Saw it with Micah Parsons last year. There we go. We've been going for 15 minutes here. My throat's starting to get a little dry out here. Cowboys Camp, Facebook Live web stream, 33 currently watching, middle of the day in San Antonio. That's not a bad number. Going on 15 minutes here. Again, all afternoon long at 6 and 10 on Ken's 5. We're going to have to shut it down here pretty shortly, considering we need to go charge up some camera batteries and get ready for the big afternoon ahead. We'll be talking again. We'll hear from Jerry Jones. We'll hear from Stephen Jones. We'll hear from Mike McCarthy. This press conference, it lasted over an hour. I'm not around a whole lot of press conferences that go north of maybe 30 minutes, but these guys were speaking at the podium for an hour. And it wasn't because necessarily the questions we were asking. It's because the answers that these guys were given. I mean, before we even got a chance to fire off any questions, Jerry Jones was addressing the 2 things that everybody wanted to ask coming in. It was the job status of Mike McCarthy and the vote of confidence that Jones gave McCarthy heading into this season. And then secondly, the departing free agents, those guys like Collins, Cooper, and Randy Gregory that I talked about, because you're essentially replacing 2 of those veteran starters with 2 rookies. I mean, Amari Cooper, you could be replacing with the rookie out of South Alabama, Jalen Tolbert, and then La'el Collins is a guy that you could be replacing with Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. Randy Gregory, they signed Dante Fowler, the former top 10 pick, off the free agency wire this season. He's another guy, take a flyer on a once promising veteran, and hopefully he plays up to his once drafted potential. But all those things that we're going to be talking about coming up tonight on Ken's 5 at 6 and Ken's 5 at 10. And if you're up real early, catch us tomorrow morning as well, too, as we'll be reporting on ahead of the first day of practice here at Cowboys Training Camp in Oxnard, California. I'm going to step out, and we're going to get a quick zoom in on this Cowboys star here at training camp. Jason Eggleston's going to take you home with the scenic views. We'll see you coming up this afternoon. Don't forget to tune in.